So today's question is, how do you know that you know what you think you know? That sounds like a convoluted sort of question, but it's a question that we really have to ask. So we live in an era where there is so much misinformation and disinformation floating around, and it's easier now than ever for it to circulate amongst large groups of people. And that's mostly thanks to social media and the internet. While the internet's a good thing in some regards, also a really bad thing in other regards. But it's all very dependent on how we react to it, how we interact with it, and things like that. So to put the question in perspective, let me ask you this. Do you know that the earth revolves around the sun? Now, most of you are going to say, well, yeah, of course, everybody knows that. Okay, let me ask the question again. Do you know that the earth revolves around the sun? Do you actually know it, or do you only believe it because somebody else told you that it did? Like, how do you know that the sun doesn't revolve around the earth? How do you know that the earth's going anywhere? Have you ever gone up to space and seen it happening, or have you plotted out the stars and the orbit of the planets and things like that yourself and figured it all out? And the answer is most likely no. You've probably never done those things. Now, before we get any further, don't feel like I'm suggesting that the earth doesn't revolve around the sun. That's not what I'm getting at. I do believe that the earth revolves around the sun. However, if someone were to come to me and be like, no, actually, I've studied it, I've plotted it all out. I've, done my due diligence. I've studied the stars and the movement of things, and I've actually determined that the sun revolves around the earth. Now, if someone were to come to me with that point of view, I might not believe them initially, but I'm not going to dismiss them either, because it's like, hey, if you've done your homework and you've really plotted this all out yourself and you've come to a different conclusion than everybody else, then okay, I'll leave it to you and the experts to kind of duke it out. But I'm probably not going to fight them over it, because it's like, hey, at the end of the day, I realize I haven't done my own due diligence. I'm just relying on what my high school textbooks taught me, basically. Well, elementary school textbooks even, and what the general consensus seems to be. Here's one of the other things that we need to realize, that the general consensus is not always correct. It used to be the general consensus that if you were sick, it was because you had bad blood, and they would give you leeches to try to get some of that out. The general consensus was very wrong. These were the leading experts, and they thought they knew what they were doing, but they didn't. And we have experts now who are probably wrong about certain things that we won't find out, until years later. I'm sure in 100 years, people are going to look back and say, like, wow, they were doing these practices on people? Like, that's crazy. Who would do something like that? We know so much better. So the simple point I'm really trying to make here is that we should be aware of how certain we are of the things that we think we know, because hey, we could be totally wrong about certain things. Maybe there are some things that we hadn't considered, or maybe there's some things that we believe that are just plain wrong. I'll give you a real life example of where I kind of encountered this. So I got my bachelor's degree at Temple University. If you've been on a major college campus in the last number of years, you realize that there's protests going on almost all the time. And when I was at school, yeah, there are protests probably every week. I don't know. It's a lot of protesting going on. Anyway, one day I was just walking to my class, and there's a big hubbub going on campus. And a couple of kids, clearly college kids, clearly going to Temple University, approached me. And the cause that they were really fighting for was to try to get Temple security vacation days.
Hey guys, it's me. I'm editing this video and realizing I misspoke here. What they were protesting for was sick days for security, not vacation days. Sick days. Just needed to clarify that, or else the following probably won't make a lot of sense, okay? Thank you, and enjoy the rest of the video.
If you've ever been to Temple University, you know it's kind of in a rough neighborhood, and so they have a lot of security on staff. There's people there around the clock to make sure that the campus is safe. And I appreciated that. And when I heard that security didn't get any sick days, I was like, well, yeah, that seems like a decent cause. I would like them to have sick days. Nobody wants to not get paid because he gets sick. So I took their pamphlet, I'm reading it kind of. I'm like, okay, well, this makes sense. So I stopped them. I said, well, let me ask you this. How many vacation days do they get out of the year? And they both looked at me like, wait, what? And I was like, yeah, not every organization or business does sick days. Sometimes they just give you a number of PTO days. And if you're sick, you just use one of those, and there you go. That's just how they account for it. And so I asked them, how many PTO days do they get a year? And they both looked at each other like, I don't even know. Like, we didn't bother to ask. I'm like, well, maybe you should find that out, because what if they get a very fair amount of time off, and here you are protesting for something that's actually not fair to the campus, not fair to Temple University? Like, what if you're actually protesting for something that's wrong? And they both kind of started to panic. Like, oh shoot, we should go ask somebody about this, because you're right. That is important. And I was like, yeah, off with you then. I'm going to class. The point I'm making is that there's probably so many people like that. They get some of the facts, they feel like it's a good cause, they get like morally excited and they're like, yeah, we're gonna go change the world and make the world a better place. And potentially they could actually be making the world a worse place, simply because they felt like they knew all of the facts. They felt like they knew who was on the right side and who was on the wrong side. But as soon as they started encountering some questions that they hadn't considered, they started to panic and realize, oh shoot, and this doesn't just happen with stupid college kids, okay? This happens all the time, particularly on social media, particularly on Facebook and Instagram and all of these things. People keep posting things. It's like, well, hold on a second. Do you know that that's true? Like, what if you're posting something that's actually detrimental? What if it's not true, and if people act on this, it's going to be really bad? We've seen this a number of times with people accusing other people of crimes over the years. And, they basically form these online lynch mobs of, oh, this person should go right to jail, whatever. It's like, well, wait a minute. Do you have all the facts? Have you considered all the information? Like you're calling out for someone to go to jail. What if they don't deserve to go to jail? What if they were totally in the right and you're just missing some information? Or worse, what if you're being fed disinformation and now you're being a proponent for injustice? Think about some of the things that you maybe hold dear, like the values and the ideas that you have. Have you ever gotten a counter perspective on those, like a true counter perspective? Have you ever listened to that idea being debated by someone who's competent from the other side? Like, how do you know those things are true? How do you know those things are beneficial? How do you know those things aren't harmful? These are questions that we really have to ask, and we should really be careful about how hard we land on what we think is true, because maybe it's not true. Maybe there are things that we hadn't considered. Maybe we don't have all the facts. Maybe some of the facts that we have are actually not true at all, because it's about more than just not looking foolish. We really want to make sure that our good intentions aren't actually causing harm. Just like the doctors that were using leeches on people, okay? They thought they were doing something really good, but actually it was hurting their patients by taking blood out of their system, which turns out you need. Case in point is George Washington died that way. Now, that's not to say that we never voice our opinions. That's not to say that we never, fight for causes, but we really have to stop and question, have we done our due diligence to make sure that we are on the right side, that we're fighting for the right cause, that we're sharing the right information, that we're asking the right questions and things like that. There are people who benefit by getting people riled up so that their posts can be shared even though they know it's not true. And there are people who want to benefit from certain situations by striking up a cause and getting people to fight for it. They don't really believe in the cause, but they benefit from it greatly. None of us want to be a tool for a bad cause. And we don't have to be, but we have to do our due diligence to make sure that we are not being corralled and to make sure that our good intentions are not being misdirected for harm. Anyway, hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully this will get you to consider a little bit, things that you share on social media, maybe the causes that you follow, maybe the ideas that you have. Go find some real counter perspective. Go find a right-wing source and a left-wing source for your news. Seriously. Get both perspectives. Both sides miss things, and both sides have biases. So if you can kind of triangulate the information, you're more likely to get good info. But yeah, hopefully this video made sense. So yeah, if you like this video, you can like it, share, subscribe. If you're following me on Facebook or YouTube, I know on YouTube you have to hit the bell. You have to subscribe and hit the bell to make sure you're getting notifications for when I upload new videos. For Facebook, I don't know that they have anything like that to make sure that you get notifications. There might be a way. But yeah, I'm still posting videos, and so if you've missed any, you can go back on my YouTube channel and check those out. Yeah, I don't know if there's a way on Facebook to make sure that you get my notifications, but you might have to look into that one yourself. Feel free to share if you feel like this would be beneficial for anybody, but I'll leave that to you. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you in the next one.